Well, Hannah's not here this week to shit all over that song. So I still really like it, and I've been singing it all day because every time I know we're doing this, it gets in my head. Guys, welcome to it's episode 3, isn't it? Episode 3 of the new and improved Lower League Look. Hannah's not here tonight. She's on a train. I don't know where. I hope it's a moving train. She's not just living on one, but she's on a train. She's enjoying herself, and she wishes she could be here, but unfortunately she can't. But if you are watching, Hannah, hello. I hope you enjoyed the intro music. Ben, Ronan, Bailey joining us tonight. All been on before, so we don't need to go into in-depth introductions. But guys, how are we doing? Is everybody okay?
Yeah, really good, mate. Yeah, tickety-boo. Life's good. Midway through January and can't complain.
Ronan, I think you were muted as well. Oh, Ronan's muted. We're off to a flyer, guys. We're off to a flyer. If that's not a fool's rush in moment, I don't know what is. So, can we hear you now, Ronan? We don't. What about you, Bailey? You talk while Ronan's sorting out his technical issues. How are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, doing well. Yeah, like Ben says, halfway through January, we've got all our business done, apart from maybe a few outgoings.
Really? Do you not think you're going to bring anyone else in at Donny?
No, I think that's us done now. We had obviously meet the owners on Monday, and McCann said he's happy with what he's done. We've got us 5 loans now as well, so there won't be any more loans coming in. Unless you know something I don't.
I don't know nothing. I was just giggling about the fact that we can sit here and talk about how shit Barrow are, and Ronan can't know about
it. Bless him, he'd probably agree.
Well, it has been quite the week, though, hasn't it? Because obviously Barrow have made the change. And right, Ronan, give us, if you can't hear us or you can't speak, you're just muted now. It's just at the bottom, but I think you're here.
You can hear me now, can't you?
Well, yeah, but your microphone, what you think it is.
Right, I'll get there. Don't worry.
So, your new manager, do you emphasize the H? Because I really hope you do emphasize the H in his surname.
No, we're just on Wing.
Oh, so we don't call him Andy Wing. Wing. That's what I'm calling him. That's what I'm calling him. Wahing, yeah. How are you feeling about that? How are you feeling about that little change? That I say, little huge change.
You know what? Really good. I'm really positive about it all, and this is like a complete oversight for last week. It's the man we all wanted in the summer. It's the man who I wanted since the December time. So I'm absolutely over the moon. I think it's a fantastic appointment. It was probably the only appointment, may I add, because let's be honest, options were limited. I think it's a fantastic move for the football club. A man who, he had 2 bad results in the last season, but penalties are a lottery. Let's be honest. Who's on the up in his football managing career, and someone we can really, really hope to sort of tap into. He gives me a lot of similarities to Pete Wild, not in terms of like style of football and stuff like that, but the way he carries himself and conducts himself, and the way his interviews sort of come across. So it's the most excited I've been since we appointed Pete originally, in terms of that sort of characteristics of a managerial appointment. Because I don't really obviously since we've been back in the football league, we've never really appointed anyone who's sort of like been a quote unquote big name. But this really
Phil Brown. Phil Brown. Let's not.
Sorry. Phil Brown is a big name, but what your thoughts on Phil Brown are probably similar to mine. That I was dead polite there. That's not like me at all. But no, I think it's nice when you get someone who's moving on an upward trajectory, and hopefully you can bring the football club in that direction too.
Nice. What do you think about so a couple of transfers? Now, managers that come up from the National League tend to dip back into the National League for transfers. And there's a name that's kind of been doing the rounds at the minute, and there's rumours that Bradford are in talks with him. But I do think that for me, if he doesn't sign for Bradford, or if Bradford haven't already signed it, kind of done it, I, as a manager coming up like that, would be looking at Manny D from Hartlepool. He's hit double figures for the last 2 seasons. I think he's already on double figures for them now. I watched him miss the most horrendous shot of all time in person against Rochdale when me and Grant went up. But he's a big striker, kind of in the same mould as an Andy Cook. Do you think that that's the sort of player that you guys are missing? And Andy, and not necessarily, obviously, everyone's missing Andy Cook aside from Doncaster, who I think that they've got their own version of Messi and Ronaldo combined. But no, do you think that you guys combined age? Do you think you've got room for that sort of player in your squad, and how you think he'll set up?
It's a difficult one because managed, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name because I'll do it wrong. But for the
Wait, Ron. Ben, if I send you how it's said, how it's spelled, can you?
I'll give it a go.
So Ben, for anyone who doesn't know, is the expert at
I'm
saying
dyslexic.
players' names. No, no, Ben, that makes it not as funny. I didn't.
I am, but no, I've got a reputation for getting names totally wrong. Even players that have played for us for a good year or two, I still can never get it right.
Yeah, I've put it in the private chat on the side there, Ben. So you have a look at that name, see if you can see it, and you tell me if you can say that name. I mean, none of us are going to know if he's right.
Yeah, but you could. It depends how much like confidence you say it with. I'll back if it's confident.
Let's have a look. Here we go. Right, I'll send it you on what I've put it in WhatsApp.
I was going to say I've not got it. Oh,
it's on your screen. It's on your screen, isn't it?
Yeah. Manny.
Well done.
Yeah. Diasarave.
I think it's Disaruve, but I'm not 100% sure.
It sounds like some sort of exotic chocolate. These Disaruves are spoiling us. Do you fancy a Disaruve tonight, darling?
Well, that could be anything. That's well. So yeah. So for you then, sorry to interrupt you on that because I honestly I just immediately imagined Ben saying it and thought, "Got to do this right."
Yeah.
Do you think that that's the sort of player that you guys could fit into the Barrow squad as it is?
Yeah, we're 100% after. In the summer, I think what you've got to look at in the summer for us is we're going to be having like a half a new squad. So 100% we'll be after a striker who's a bit more sort of combative. The only problem that I have with Manny Disaruve is his highlight reel is full of sitters, like quite a few of them, and you will get. And I know people say the step up from league, from National League to League Two is not massive, and I agree to an extent from the top half to bottom half, but you don't get as much chances, you don't get as much time on the ball. There's less margin for error. So can we afford to maybe take that chance? And is there a reason he's been sat at Hartlepool and not really gone on and done, something at a higher level? Age, what is it now? 30?
He's 29.
29, so not far off. It's too much of a gamble for me, a player like that, who's never really gone into the Football League and hit massive numbers. This is where somebody tells me I had a 20-goal season thing, and I'll try and put the stats.
No, he hasn't. He's
I'll tell you, I'm nailing it tonight.
He's on 33 goals in 65 games for Hartlepool.
Which is fantastic for National League level. But how many strikers have you seen that have scored goals at the National League and don't step up? I think it's different if you've got a centre half or a position like that, maybe it's midfield. But I always think it's hard for a striker to step up and make that, that sort of climb, in my opinion, unless he's sort of a young lad on his career and his trajectory going up. Come to say. So I think for us, the gaping holes in our squad, and we've not scored enough, would be probably towards a whole sort of midfield revamp. And let's see what it brings in, because I think if we're looking at a player from the National League that could probably become part of Barrow's squad next season, it would be Stevens on the wing for Solihull. I think that would be a really, really good addition. He's played with him twice at both Solihull and Banbury, so I think that's the sort of player we may be looking at. But half a League Two is going to be looking at him. It's one of them. As they were with a player like Sparrow in the summer. So we'll see.
Fair play. So do you think then that you said there you'd be looking more midfield? Do you think that you've got the goal scorers, you just don't create the chances as it stands?
I'm not sure. I'm really, really not sure. And we argue like mad about it in our fan base, because whenever our strikers seem to get chances, they don't really miss. But we've created nothing this season, so it's really hard to gauge it because the strikers haven't had them chances. It's a bit like nobody really knows. Players like Dom Telford don't suddenly become bad footballers, bad goal scorers overnight. We're not creating chances for them. And there is a massive lack of creativity in that side. But if you look at it as well as like the bottom four for chances created, Bottom 4 for like shots as well. And we're not having shots because we're not getting the ball in the box because we've had a style of play since mid-September, which has been abhorrent to watch, if we're putting it really, really bluntly.
That's why you sacked him, didn't you? I mean, let's just talk about it. And Bailey, I'll ask you this: their method of removing Clements, we can say quite comfortably that he was told he'd been sacked as he stepped off the coach. Pretty much come here when he got off the coach after reviving back from Swindon. And obviously we'll come to Ben and Ronan so they can talk a little bit about that game. But what's your thoughts on that style of approach from the club? Like essentially not even wait until the Sunday. You usually see them wait till the Sunday unless something drastic has happened. You know, if they've gone to Swindon and lost 6-0, yeah, you can understand, you know, needing to do it. But they knew on the coach, didn't they? Because the statement went out as soon as they got back. What do you think of the way they've handled that?
Well, I think main thing is it probably a bit disrespectful towards him. I think he's obviously he came in the summer, and I said a few times, I think whoever were going to come in after Pete Wild, it was going to be a massive job because Pete Wild have achieved so much.
Yeah.
But then to like give him 6 months, and like I say, it wasn't like they got beat 5-6, 7-0. It was, and they've just obviously sacked him on the coach virtually. And I think we had some. We played Grimsby last season, and they did the same with Paul Hurst. But I think it was before he got on coach. It was near enough straight after the game.
At least that's only like a 40-minute journey or something, though, isn't it? Grimsby's in the Doncaster postcode area, so that's not as bad.
But I think we beat them 1-0 and they sacked him at like 5:15. But yeah, I think main thing is it's just massively disrespectful towards him. And like I say, you're always gonna have a massive job, and I don't think he's like what he's done so far with Barrow, where they are in league and whatever. I don't think it's massively out of like what everyone expected.
What were you expecting, Ronan, this season? Was it? Were you expecting more? Obviously, not in terms of like style, but like league position. Were you expecting more than what you've seen?
I think we're talking about. I've got to caveat this a little bit. When you've got to 8th in the league last season and missed out on the last day by 1 point, and you sack, get rid of whatever you want to call it, what happened to Pete Wild, in the manner that we did. My immediate thoughts, not as a football fan who was going to watch the team this season, but as you know, somebody like from the business perspective or whatever, is surely your aim for this season is making the playoffs, because you know amongst other reasons, one of the reasons he was sacked was because we didn't make the playoffs. That's black and white because of the position we were in. So from a football club perspective, you've got to be assuming that we were hoping to make the playoffs. From an actual, like realistic perspective, I was up for 12th because I thought there would be a drop off because. I actually thought we were overachieving massively last season. We probably weren't as good as we thought we were. We were a very good team at picking up results, and as we all know, sat around here, that's a massively different thing to being an actual good footballing team. So I was sort of expecting the mid-table, hopefully top half of the mid-table run, but we have flattered to deceive since middle of September. We've won 3 games of football in the league, might be 2, I can't remember, since September, and it is and at any football club, nobody would accept that as results. And I just want to make a caveat point: the way that if he's been sacked when he comes off the coach, that isn't good. That's not professional at all, and I don't condone that at all. And I also want to say, because I'm somebody who's been massively negative on Stephen Clements, he's also going to be one of my favourite ever nights watching Barrow football at Stamford Bridge. So I will always be grateful for that, and I want to just put that out there as well. But the writing's been on the wall for weeks. Like there's we all know that Andy Wing's been being spoken to for 2-3 weeks. This hasn't just happened overnight, and we've been keeping him. We've either been waiting on him because we couldn't quite get him till this time, or we've been keeping it warm for waiting to see how results panned out. And it wouldn't shock me if some of the signings we've made he already knew about and probably was asked about, and them sort of questions were probably sort of brought into it. But I think the thing the owners had that was a problem was this run of form never looked like stopping. You will watch us on Saturday, Ben. Christ, we were bad. we were really bad. Like, we didn't even look like scoring, not at all once. And it's sometimes it's not about losing 5 or 6-0. It's about the manner of your defeat, and we got beat without even look like we were bothered.
Yeah, Ben, on the game, how did you see it go? Because obviously, was it Swindon turned up? Was it Barrow really didn't turn up? Was it a little bit of both?
I thought the game on the Falls, I was actually quite critical, and I was one of the very few fans that was. But I thought the game itself was quite scrappy. It was a huge game for both teams because Barrow didn't want to get dragged into a relegation scrap, and Swindon were fighting to get out of one.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was semi-impressed the way Barrow reacted to going 1 down, because they didn't cave in. They didn't create much, but they started to worm their way back into the game. They got a few corners. They got themselves into some decent goal scoring positions. They just lacked that creativity in the final third. That's some of the ability to slip that pass in. That's someone to create a bit of space when there is none. And their sort of time passed, and in the second half, Swindon sort of grow back into the game a little bit. But I don't think it was god awful from Barrow. I just think they're missing components to kick on. They're not a million miles away from what I saw, because defensively they're okay. They've got some big units at the back, and they're very well organised and very well drilled. The midfielders, they've got some batters there. Their new winger actually are really quite light. What's his name? Is it Dooku? I can't remember his name. He's the little chap played it on the right.
Right back, yeah.
Yeah, I think he made his debut, but he caused us some problems that first half. If you've got the Presley up front, who they like to lump it up to and losing the sort of the Smith role, but yeah, I thought he looked a bit, but I didn't think it was as bad as people made up from the Barrow. But Swindon were comfortable winners in the end, and it took 2 fantastic finishes though to put you out. But yeah, from Barrow perspective, I was a bit surprised he was sacked so quickly after that, because over the performance there was some fight, so it wasn't like you just rolled over. Swindon wise, it probably out of the last 5 games that we've played, that's probably the least coherent out of a lot of them. But I think that again, that's partly to Barrow and the way they played. They were quite physical. They tried to play direct, and a lot different to the previous games that we played against teams that played on the floor. And it was a bit of a battle, but we sort of fought our way through and won the game, and it was a big 3 points for us.
It's massive. You got another protest coming up, haven't you, Ben? Is it the 8th?
Yeah, it was post game. Sadly, I'm not going to be there, but because that's the one home game this season I'm going to miss. But it's post game is Port Vale, which would be quite interesting, and it's behind the Arkles when the Port Vale fans come out, which I think that needs to be planned very well. But it's obviously the game's an early kickoff because it's on Sky. So it's being planned for after the game. Yeah. So I think 12:30 game, I think. So it'll be post match, and we'll find out a little bit more what's going to happen with it. But I think it's a main one. I think it's just going to be a sort of a protest outside the stadium. So we'll see what happens. And check the Vale fans behave on the way out.
Yeah, see if they get involved. Just before we'll come on to sort of transfers and things, Bailey, for you and us, we were in the early kickoffs on Saturday. I don't know what your game was like. Our game was not really much to write home about. It was a scrappy 1-0 win. No, when I say a scrappy, I mean we could have won by more, but we seemed to just be content knowing that Carlisle were not going to ever score. What was your game like?
Very similar, to be fair. I don't think it was one where you'll have had a lot of people watching at home off the seats.
Yeah,
I think it was, to be fair, similar to yours. I think Gillingham bullied us, obviously, like typical Coleman side, like get in your face and like big ball up top and try and win second balls and set pieces. And like I said, they bullied us for the first half hour until Molyneux scored against Runner Play. We probably should have been 2-0 up then with Sharp. He missed for bread and butter finish for him, really. But then second half, it was just, we never really looked like conceding. We never really looked like scoring. It was same as you, scrappy 1-0 win. Yeah. It wasn't a game that was good for television.
No. What do you think of Gillingham? Because we said this before about they seem to be really, really well run off the pitch, but on the pitch things are just not clicking. And even when it looks like they get started, it drops off drastically. Like their starts are kind of, they take them to here, but then they drop right down to here, and then the start takes them to here, and then they drop right down. It's like they go forward 6 inch, but they drop back 8, and it's like it's a continual. It seems to decline that little bit further each time. Like, what did you think of Gillingham as a whole? Because I mean, they currently sat 16th in the table. They're 12 points off the playoffs as it stands. They've got a game in hand. But Gillingham fans were, I mean, I don't think just Gillingham fans. I think a lot of people predicted Gillingham would be a top 3 side this season, and they're nowhere near.
Yeah, I think I had him in playoffs, I think, to be fair. But yeah, I thought, like I say, it was Coleman's first game. He'd had like 2 weeks, I think, training with him. Obviously, they had 2 games called off.
Yeah.
And I thought first half hour or so, until we went 1-0 up, I thought they looked really up for it. And like I said, they were getting in his faces. And really, they deserved to be at least 1-0 up by the time we scored, and it were against run of play. I thought second half, though, I think you could see him getting frustrated, and fans as well. I think at the end they were booing, and they were getting really frustrated as the longer it went on. I just don't think it helps. Like, running back Barra, they've obviously sacked Clements like after not so long. Don't help because Gillingham keep doing the same thing. They keep getting a manager 5-6 months and sacking him, and then they're just having to restart constantly. And rather than, I think you see all the top teams in League Two, and they've had the manager for quite a while. Like, Walsall's perfect example. This time last year, they were all wanting Sadler out, and now they've given him enough time, and they're in a league of their own at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, they're steamrolling ahead, aren't they, Walsall as well? I mean, they're game in hand, and they're 8 points clear, 12 points clear with a game in hand. Like, they could wrap this league up very, very early on, and Ben, you'd hate to see Walsall wrap this league up at any stage. On the Bradford-Carlisle game, and this is where I think we come unstuck this season, we clearly have a team that can play football, and we clearly have a team that can give it to teams and can win games. We lack a ruthless streak about ourselves, and Saturday was a perfect example of it. We were 1-0 up against the Carlisle side who were rock bottom of the league, who were rock bottom on confidence, who simply don't know what to do. That Carlisle looked atrocious, but we just let them have the ball. And I get that that's a tactic for us. We let them have it, and we would occasionally, we would break off the back of it. If you look at all our games under Alexander, our wins, our best results come when we have less possession than the other team. So that's a good tactic, but we just didn't go for the kill. And there's nothing more, for me, there's nothing more sort of telling than that, than we're getting a free kick towards the end in a good position and playing it out into the corner. And yeah, we haven't won at Carlisle in 40 years. That's the first time in 40 years we've beat Carlisle at Carlisle. It's the first time we've done a double since 1985-86. We just let any other team that has anything about them gets a point out of that game. At least they nick a point, and that's what's going to keep us down. If we don't go up, it's going to be because of last minute stupid goals that we concede because we've not pushed on when we've had the opportunity. Carlisle were there for the taking, regardless of whether we wanted the win, which we obviously did. We were getting that. Carlisle didn't look like scoring. We could have done our goal difference a big world of good there, because we're getting to the playoffs. We're currently sat 2 points behind Notts County. They've got +8 on top of us for goals. So we're on 7. They're on +15. That's the sort of game where you want to make your bottom of the league teams are where you pick your points up and pick up your goal difference. We just didn't do it, and I think that's where we're going to struggle. If we don't go up, it'll be because of those points that we end up dropping in those games, and we concede a lot of late goals. We do, because we do ride our luck a little bit.
That sounds similar to us, to be fair. That we've had quite a lot of games where we're on top, and Wimbledon comes to mind straight away. We had 2 great chances early on, missed them both, and then they go up other end and punish our mistake, and they just grind out a 1-0 win. And we've had so many games like you, where we just don't take his chances when we're on top. Yeah. And like you see, Walsall, they are. I think I'm sure I seen somewhere either today or yesterday. They've had second least possession like overall on average up league behind. Is it Harrogate or Bromley that have had less? I think that's it. But whenever they get ball, they're just so clinical and ruthless, and there's no other team in this league that are.
Yeah, and you look at Walsall. They're the first team in the league to break 50 goals this season. There's only three teams in the country that have done it. They are 11 goals ahead of Notts County, who have 41. And it's like Notts County were always known as quite a high-scoring, free-flowing team. They conceded a lot. Defensively, they were poor, but they used to be really good. Obviously, they got McGoldrick, they had Crowley, they've got Jody Jones, they had Langstaff, obviously, at one point. They were always known as a team that could score goals. And now Walsall are blowing even them out of the park. Teams that want to go up do what Walsall are doing. 4-2 against MK Dons, a team that they really should be kind of rivaling in that playoff or promotion push. 5-1 against Tranmere. Again, Tranmere down at the bottom. That's the difference between a current Bradford side and a team that look like they're getting promoted. You know, there's always questions over us. People always say, Bradford could do it. There's never a definite. No one goes, Bradford will do it. We never look like that side that will do it. We always look like the side that could, because we're stop, start. A team, however, that seem to have found a way of playing and clicked a little bit, and I apologise, Your Honour, is Pete Wild's Fleetwood. The fist pumps are back, Ronan. How do you feel about the fist pumps of Pete Wild? Obviously, they didn't beat you, Bailey. But Pete Wild doesn't seem to beat Doncaster, does he? That was his first game. Was it his first game or was it his?
Yeah, I'm sure it's because he wasn't in the dugout. I don't think for the midweek one.
He wasn't in the dugout for the Chesterfield game, was he? Was he in the dugout?
The midweek game before us, apparently he wasn't in dugout.
I don't know. I thought he was for Harrogate. Never mind. But so he obviously they lost against Doncaster, but then they beat obviously the last two games. They won 2-0 against Salford, which ain't an easy feat at all to go to Salford this season. And then they beat MK Dons last night 2-1. The fist pumps are back in full force. Ronan, talk us through what it feels like what will the Fleetwood fans be feeling right now when those fist pumps are coming at full time?
He's so clever in the way that he engages a support and a fan base and galvanizes people the minute he walks through the door. And I know it's silly things like, fist bumping at the end of the games, but and obviously I've ended up watching every Pete Wild interview he's done for bloody Fleetwood and watched it all because that's what you do. You torture yourself. And it's just copy and paste of what he did at Barrow, and that sounds awful, but it's not. It's such a good thing because it works. Mm-hmm. He's galvanized the support, and not a big football club not like Barrow, because Barrow a bigger football club than Fleetwood over history, but he's galvanizing the support very well. And I was saying this to someone the other day. There's always that team that comes from nowhere that hasn't necessarily been brilliant, that hasn't been fantastic this season, and something just clicks round about now, and they go on that mad run and somehow end up in the playoffs. And I think you may agree or disagree with me. I think it could be them. I think it really comfortably could be them because he's getting a few players in that it's not necessarily a brand or style of football that people push around. It's just going to be a formula that wins games of football. And he's still finding out a lot about his team, and as he will as time goes on. But it would not shock me at all if they're that side that goes up. But and all credit to him. I hope and I don't like Fleetwood at all for many reasons, but all power to him. I really hope he does well there because he's not only a fantastic football manager, a fantastic guy as well.
Yeah. For me, no offense, Bailey. For me, best manager in the league. And we've said it for a couple of years. I don't think he's been given a chance at no offense to Fleetwood, but like a big club yet. But I do feel like, as far as how he approaches things, and like you look at how he set up last night against MK Dons, they signed Crowley. They're not an easy team to really play against, and you never really know what you're going to get against the Scott Lindsay team. Ben, you know all too much. But the one thing that you can't do when you're playing a Scott Lindsay team is get sucked into how they play football. You can't play a Scott Lindsay team at Scott Lindsay football. You will lose. What you have to do is get Scott Lindsay to try and play your way. and control the game. And Bailey's gone. Bailey's had enough. He heard the Grant McCann slander, and he's gone. but no, you have to. You have to. Whoever takes control of the game in terms of style of play will win. If MK get their foot through the door early on and play their style, it's very, very hard to beat an MK side. But if you can get a Scott Lindsay side kind of on the back foot and having to change the way they play to suit you, you'll find that you will end up getting the result. And that's what he's done last night. He didn't deviate, and this is what he always did for you guys running, and he used to do it different for each game. And I loved it. When I spoke to Pete, he said, I have players that are going to drag me through games and get me to the point where I need to still be in the game. He said, and then I have match winners, players that I can call on, players that I can pull from the bench and say, go on and win me that game. And you looked at like his team selections, and if you look at all the games where Pete's going into like when he was at Barrow, look at the games where he's going to a Mansfield, a Doncaster, a Bradford, a Swindon maybe, but maybe probably not, a Stockport. He plays that style of like putting Ben Whitfield on the bench, and it was annoying, wasn't it? I think it was annoying for the fans because you were like, why is he dropping?
You're going to mention that Bradford game where we won. Was it 2-1? We won
2-1. Yeah,
and he brought on the bench and he came on and changed again.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that's the point. It was, and I had to sit and watch the fist pumps. And the thing is, it was so annoying because I'd been speaking to him before the game, and like I was like, oh, I really like this guy. And then I saw those fist pumps, and I was just like, you fucking dick. But yeah, perfect example. That was one where he knew he had to come into a potentially hostile environment. You know, if the crowd gets behind the home side, same with Donny, things like that. If they can get behind them, it can be quite difficult. So what you need to do is dig your heels in, play a style of football that keeps you in that game until the 60th, 70th minute, and then boom, switch it. And it's so hard to combat. And we did, when Wicks came off the bench, I remember him coming off the bench in that game and just been like, I took my missus obviously a football fan really, but she knew who Wicks was because we'd interview and we used to talk and stuff, and she obviously knew about him. And I just went, he's coming on. I was like, it's game over. It's the same as when we played Swindon 2 seasons prior and we had Jack Payne when he came off the bench. And I turned to my missus and I said, we've lost this game. And he came on and he won a penalty and he scored it in the last minute and they all ran off celebrating. You can see it with certain players and you can see what certain styles just work. And Pete's works. And it's so... The beautiful thing about it, and you said it there, like you don't begrudge him. It's like a mirror copy of what he did at Barrow, because you can translate it. You can just pick that copy up, that style up, and plonk it anywhere. And as long as you have that couple of players that can understand how it works, it's beautiful. Bailey's kind of back. Bailey is not back. Bailey's half back, but we'll just leave him as a spinning circle. Ben, Pete Wild. Just Pete Wild. Pete Wild.
Well, no, he's a fantastic manager, isn't he? You can tell by the football he plays. Tactic spot on against Scott Lindsay. If you play your way and drag them into your style, if you rough them up a little bit, get them to do what they don't want to do, then that's your best chance of beating them. If you get sucked into an open football game, they'll smash you. He's always troubled Swindon. He's always come to this Carrick Ground and done us over, and he has a typical way of playing. It's just what he does, and it is a matter of time before someone does bigger and beyond does coach him. I'd love to see him with an underdog in League One because I think he'd do quite well. Maybe that team will be Fleetwood.
I thought he was going to be at Burton. I thought he was going to get the Burton job. But
an underdog role in League One, I think you'll do a proper job. Yeah, someone like a Burton, but they'll be down with us next year.
You made an interesting point there about underdog.
And it's my only Pete Wild criticism is sometimes when you are not the underdog and you have to be the person who's the aggressor in the game. Not aggressive in terms of... aggressive is probably the wrong word, actually. The person who takes control of the game and are the team to beat, sometimes it comes unstuck. Sometimes. And I think that's what probably caught us at the end of last season. And it caught him at Halifax as well. And I'm probably the first time I ever negatively spoke of the bloke, is sometimes we struggled a bit at times to be that team that asserted dominance and would play at home and win 3-0, like you said before, like go out and win 3-0 and be that confident team. And Bailey will tell you about when we played a bloody Doncaster and 2-0
No, he
up.
won't. No, he won't.
Oh no, he's gone again.
Oh, I do
We'll
remember
see.
that Doncaster game, by the way. I remember that because that was during that run, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
To this day, I've never watched that game back and refuse to. I never will ever. I never will in my life. It's just sometimes that might catch him out. So when I see him go to a bigger club, I think he suits being underdog down on the ground. I don't know what he'd be like, and hopefully he'd be fantastic at it at a big club, being the person who has to set the not the standard, but set the tone of the game from the start, and not necessarily. I think what Pete Wild does well is he counteracts teams brilliantly.
Mm.
But sometimes he has to put his own stamp on the game from the off. Sometimes, not all the time, he struggles.
I think the difference with Pete is that even though he's not come from a traditional background of football, like he's got a completely different story, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are not many managers in this league that, off their own backs, go and scout to the level he does. Like, they have scouts and they have people that go and watch games, but Dave Artell does it, Pete Wild does it, and I know that there'll be others, but I don't know really of any others that. So Friday night, for example, the FA Cup under 18s was on, and they were out watching under 18 the FA Cup. And that's the level that they put into the game. It's this thing with Pete and with Temps as well, is that if they're in, they're in. They're either in or they're out. Like, they are fully in. And teams just don't do that anymore. We don't have that sort of that mentality. It's very, very. It's a lot of stats driven stuff. You know, someone comes in with a spreadsheet and Bailey's back. We've managed to get him. Good evening, Bailey. Welcome back. Did you hear the Grant McCann slander before you left?
No, and I don't want to hear it.
It wasn't actually Grant McCann slander. I said, and I stand by it. I do still believe that Pete Wild is the best manager at this level, and that's not meant to be offensive to anyone, because
I agree to disagree.
Well, I think Grant McCann's a great manager, but I think that we've seen what Grant McCann can do. I don't think we've seen what Pete Wild can do yet, because he hasn't had that chance.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. I do like Pete Wild.
So a question that's just been asked, and it is on a different subject, but let's just ask it here. Thoughts on Jatta to Plymouth? So Plymouth have today submitted a £750,000 bid, apparently, for Jatta. 15 goals he's scored. Bolton and Portsmouth also interested. Do you think that he's there? I mean, by the way, Bolton have sacked Ian Evatt today. It was inevitable. Wait, did you like that? Look, I saw that. I think that's a great line. It was inevitable. But can I just say, first people to break that Ian Evatt had gone was us. Last night, I tweeted it as soon as I found out that the conversation had taken place, and I just put, he's gone. And like, I'm quite proud of that one, because it doesn't look like anyone beat us to it. So yeah, he's gone. He's so Bolton for me would probably be out of that conversation now until they get a manager in, because for a club in League One, it's a big amount of money to spend on a player from League Two when you don't know, unless they know which manager's coming in, and he's authorised it. But do you think that Jatta's there? Do you think that Jatta's at that point where he can set up? He's 26 years old, so he's not old. That makes me feel sick, because he was born in 1999. I know. Ben, it's even worse. It's even worse when I speak to Bobby Poynton at Bradford, and he's born in 2003, I think. And it is. What do you mean, a great year?
I was born in 2003.
Oh no, you were born in 2003.
Yeah.
Oh, Bailey, you're 7 years old. Is it 2010? Obviously, still.
I was doing my GCSEs. At that point, I was genuinely doing my GCSEs. Ben was planning his
23.
retirement.
I was leaving university at 20, and I was 23 years old. I was like big wide world. 2003.
Well, I was just about to enter.
I was starting primary school.
Can we change the subject off page? Yeah, Jatta. How long left on his contract, by the way?
Yeah. So yeah. Do you think that Jatta's got what it takes? Obviously, he signed for Notts County. It's his first time in England. Obviously, playing in Denmark before this.
I think he
Do you
stays.
think-
Leeds.
You think what?
Personally, I don't. I think they hold on to him to the end of the season because they've just lost Crowley, and I think he's very important goal scorer and what he offers the team defensively and offensively. And I think they don't need the money because they've just made a load. I think they just go, right, hold on, wait till the summer, and then we'll let you go down. Unless his contract is up, and then they might cash in. But if I was not County, I'd be like, no, wait 6 months, and then we'll find you a club. But let's see if we go up first.
How
That's
long
what
has
I
he
might
got
think.
What was
How
that? Sorry.
long's he got left? How long's he got left on his contract?
So he's in his
January,
second
so.
year. Yeah, he's in his second year. He joined last a year ago. He signed a deal until the end of next season.
Right.
So they've got 18
Yeah,
months
they don't
worth
need to sell
with
them,
him.
yeah.
No,
Because-
but then you ask the question of can you keep a player that wants to leave? And I'm not saying he does want to leave, but if he wants to move up to League One, can you stand in his way?
750
Yeah,
grand
I
is
suppose.
a hell of a lot of money at this level.
Lot.
A hell of a lot of money. And having watched Jatta's a fantastic footballer. I think he's definitely could play a League One, like by absolutely no doubt. For no Championship because different kettle of fish completely. But it's difficult because from a Notts County perspective, it's all well and good saying that they probably could afford to turn down the money, but he's one like break away from. You know what I mean? I know there's no way to think about it, but it's a lot of money that could be reinvested in the football club, not only for because they're not like a team like Barrow and others where they have to invest in infrastructure because it's there, it exists. That money is ready to go back into the football team. And could you get 2-3 players for the price that you're going to get for Jatta? You've got to have that argument. Would they be as good as Jatta? Completely different argument. But I'd take it every day of the week.
I think the Plymouth ones. We could all see how that would go. Going to 24th in the Championship, like you say, it's a huge step up. He'd score a couple of goals. He'd come down to League One with them. Bailey's had enough again. He'd come down to League One with them. He'd have a stop-start to the season next year, and he'd end up back on loan in League Two. That would be most likely the thing there. Dale has said, if Jatta goes, will we get Langstaff back? So Langstaff played for Millwall the other night, didn't he? So I'm not sure how much he played before that, but that means that he can go. He still can go on loan. He's only played for Millwall, but the fact that he played shows that maybe they're not 100% sure. Would he come to Notts County? I think Stockport have been interested. If it becomes a Stockport and Notts County thing, I think he goes to Stockport. Yeah. They've obviously got the Louis Barry money, what they were paying on wages to spend, and it would be a loan. Langstaff's not going to move permanently. So I don't think that Notts get Langstaff back personally. I could be wrong. It's just an opinion. Dale has said that Notts have made over £1 million on 3 players who finished 14th in the league last season. It's not bad going, is it? But it just shows the impact of the league above. Like the championships, obviously, that's the championship as far as money is concerned, is what the Premier League was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You're seeing teams spending silly money. League One is now what the championship was, and League Two is becoming sort of a high-end League One for spending. And it's going to continue to rise. And I think it's killing the game because it's a lot of money and it's silly. And League Two was players that wanted to play football. That was what we did. We had players that were proper footballers. They didn't give a shit about the money. It was that they came because they love playing football. And now we're going to get to that point where we're going to be kind of about the money as well. But yeah, it's a lot of money. £1 million on 3 players is a lot. It's a hell of a lot. Yeah, fair play to Notts because they've got the model right. Speaking of players coming back, I'm going to put out on a limb here. I think Negru goes back to Salford this window. He hasn't moved yet. I think towards the back end of the month, probably a deadline day, I think we'll see him back at Salford, and I think he'll do the season at Salford. And I think because he's on for it there. He's on for all the Player of the Season awards. He's on for it all. And I think that Negru comes back to Salford before the end of this window. I don't think he moves. I think he'd have gone somewhere else by now.
They're having a cracking season, aren't they, Salford, after a poor start, aren't they? They're really going for it now. I think they're doing things properly, haven't they? They bought well after being just, well, quite naive through the seasons and just trying to buy their way out. They think they've got a good manager for this level, a very, 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 very intelligent manager. He knows the game, and the team's, it's good balance to it. They've just signed Longera from us. We didn't use him to his best needs because we played him a left back when he's really a kind of a right winger. It's his best position. He kind of started seeing that towards the end of his spell at Swindon, and then he gets snapped off. So I think that's going to be quite a shrewd buy for him. I think the fans will quite enjoy that because he's quite an exciting player that likes to take players on. It'd be another piece of the jigsaw, isn't it? So, if I think the smart money is on them, just creeping in unnoticed into the top 7 and hanging around there for the rest of the season. Well, they're there now, but I think they're not. I think they're there to stay. They're not going to drop. It's my opinion.
Really impressive. When we played on Boxing Day, they looked really good, like really good. And I think it could be the year.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's the difference this time, and it's so weird because they've kind of thrown money at it over the years. That's what they've been known for. Like, I don't know if anyone's. I don't know if you've ever watched either of you the Salford documentary. For me, it eclipses the Wrexham one, like, because it's actually about the football. Like, I fucking love it. But you see, over the years, like obviously when they brought Gareth Seddon in back in the the National League North, I think it was, and then he got him to the National League, and he couldn't go up to the Bailey's back. Good evening, and then he couldn't go up to the league because he'd retired and he'd had his payout. They did throw money at it for a while. Not the money that I think a lot of people think they threw at, but they were throwing money at it. And they tried it in League Two, and it kind of didn't work because I think they realised that to take that approach of throwing money at it, it's a lot of money you need. And they've stepped back from doing that. They've lost their billionaire investor, their billionaire owner stepped away. And they've taken a proper approach, and look at what's happening. Like they're actually doing it without, and I bet Nicky Butts sat there going, "Hey, think of all the money we could have saved, like throw money at this." But again, I think it was Bailey that spoke about managers. Was it you, Bailey, who spoke about managers and clubs at the top keeping managers? Yeah, about having managers over, giving them a longer time. Salford, they've given him time. I mean, they were down there. They were in that fight last season, but the club could see it, and I think the club realised, we can't just keep pushing people out. We have to build it's a project. And again, coming back to Pete Wild, not wanting to keep coming back to Pete Wild. Obviously, I'd love to do a full episode on it, but he describes it perfectly. Your first season is a crisis management, and when you come in and you don't start the season, it's crisis management. It's get to the end of the season whilst learning what you've got, make sure you survive. Second season is putting the building blocks in place, and the third season is boom, we're going. And that's kind of what Robinson's done, but he's actually going in his second season. So he's doing what Pete did. He's doing what you guys did with Barrow. Like that second season, everyone still thought that you were going to be down there, but he pushed you on, and unfortunately didn't work towards the end. That happens. But yeah, Alex says, as a Newport fan, I'm not enjoying our crisis management. Alex, be interested to find out what is actually going on at Newport, because you are 4 games now on the bounce, 4 losses. Your last win when you freakishly scored 6 goals against MK Dons.
They destroyed them. I remember that. Yeah.
And then fell apart after that. Like, Alex, what's going on at your club? Because being completely honest, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but Newport seem to every season have a crisis. Apart from, I think it was the year they went to the playoffs, didn't they, against Morecambe? Like, they always seem to have a crisis point.
Well, they brought in the gent. Well, not bringing the gent. The gent from Swansea. His name's escaped me, so I forget.
Hugh Jenkins.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And I really thought they'd kick on. I thought that would be it. I thought Newport would be one of the teams to beat this season. But
they've made a few signings recently.
Yeah, I've never. And this is awful. Every time they make a signing, because obviously, as we all do, we'll all look at everyone's signing. You never hear of any of them, do you? Like, you don't have a clue even that. Which is not a bad thing necessarily, but. Yeah, it's just a strange football. Even when you go, there's no way. It's a strange. players.
Well, they changed their model, didn't they, at the start of the season? They've gone for more of the sort of like what's the Moneyball thing, just getting players young and then selling them on for profit. And that's kind of what they're trying to do. And I guess that's what they've been doing this January, which is why you've not really heard of any of the players that are coming in. But unfortunately, with a team of young players, you need experience there, because when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. You don't have that dressing room, that straight talking dressing room that picks everyone up again. You need that experience in the squad. And Swindon sort of experienced that in recent seasons when they've been quite young, where they've missed that those players, those leaders, natural leaders, which only comes with experience. And they're probably going through that now, actually. We'll see.
Bailey, for you on it, like what Ben's just said there about being a club that's kind of wanting to bring young players in and then, sell them on, pushing them and things like that. No one's going to want to buy a player sat 20th in League Two, are they? A young player, really. You need, for that model to work, you need let's be honest, you need a Walsall model. You need a Crewe, a special model. Crewe are phenomenal. They've always been good at doing that. What do you think's missing at Newport? Bailey's frozen again. While Bailey's coming back, so Alex has responded. He said that this is Newport, we are possession FC, love passing between centre-backs and no threat up front. We have a manager who doesn't change tactics at all. You saw it at Wimbledon. We were brilliant first half. They figured out how to counter. We sat and we lost the game quietly. And that's just a rinse and repeat every weekend. All of our experience is gone. Morris sold, Bogle gone, Wildig out. The only experienced head really is McLaughlin and Townsend. Clarke has just been frozen out too. There's a lot to unpack there. But that, to me...
Do you think they could get dragged down into a fight?
Oh, 100%, Ben. They're sat below you. You guys are still in the fight.
No, yeah, we're not at the woods yet, but I'm just thinking, do you think they...
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 6 points off. 6 points off they are, and they're on a horrific run of form. And look, regardless of where Morecambe sit, Morecambe have started to pick up points, started to pick up wins when it matters. Like every couple of years, they're picking up a win, and if they do that till the end of the season, I mean, they've got 21 games left of the season of Morecambe. If they pick up 1 win in 3, they'll be just under 40 points.
I've said it right throughout. They have got the best manager equipped to keep a team like that up. And of all the struggling teams, they are the manager-wise. He will eke every little bit of ability out of that squad. And every single player will work hard, and every single player will be well drilled. And they'll get the 1-0. They'll get the 1-1 away from home. So they'll scrape results, and they'll hang on in there. And they will fight to every last kick of the last game. And like he'll love it. Their manager absolutely loves this sort of thing, and it gets the best out of him and his teams. So yeah, I think Morecambe will stay up this year, personally.
I agree, Morecambe still.
I'm sick of. I've said it before. They will survive anything.
I think the thing with Morecambe is, and what they're very, very, very good at is, when you look at, people always say, focus on your own results. Just focus on your own results. You can't control anyone else's results. Morecambe are dragging people into it because they're beating Carlisle. They've then dragged Tranmere into it. They beat Tranmere. Derek Adams knows Morecambe's limitations. He knows that there's going to be teams that they're going to come up against, and it's damage limitations. It's don't lose 4-5-0. Keep that goal difference within touching distance of the teams around, and it is there. They've got -18. Tranmere are above them with -21, so they get that goal, they get that point, or those points they drag Tranmere down. But then when it comes to teams like your Carlisles, your Tranmeres, your Accringtons, Newport, Swindon, even Barrow to a degree, that's where they go for the wins, because he knows that that's where those teams are going to pan. Everyone knows Morecambe are in the shit, so what have Morecambe got to lose at this stage? The teams that are above them, they'll be flapping. They don't want to get dragged into this. And that's what, like, you've got more. If they, when are you playing them, Ronan? When have you got Morecambe next?
I'm in Milan.
It's the 18th of March. I'm going to take a guess.
Milan.
Very nice. So if you're still around the point that you're in now, and same points difference from where Morecambe is, the pressure's on you that game. Because
sorry.
Go on, because you don't want to get dragged into it. The pressure, the longer, weirdly, with Morecambe and Carlisle now, for me, the longer the season goes on, the less pressure they've got on them, because everybody expects it and just writes them off. So they'll be going into games. Obviously, they'll put pressure on themselves because they want to stay up, but the actual pressure from the opposition will be non-existent because everyone will just think that they've got the result. Everyone will just think it's an easy foregone conclusion. Like Bradford fans went into Saturday, we haven't won there in 40 years. No matter what form Carlisle have been in and what form we've been in, we haven't won in 40 years. Even if we've been the better team over a season, we've still gone there and lost or not or drawn. And you write them off. We wrote them off on Saturday, but the pressure sort of comes off them from opposition fans, and people underestimate them, and that it makes you. I think their season probably gets a little bit easier because if everyone expects them to go down, they go down. Then yeah, so what? It's happened, but no one expects them to come out fighting.
Yeah, I think Morecambe.
Morecambe differed to Carlisle for me this season. I think Morecambe and I'm not going to make the same points again because you made them all. They will be backs to the wall. Derek Adams sets them up to be well disciplined and knows. Derek Adams will have already targeted now. He'll have it on a whiteboard in his office or whatever of the games that they think they can win, and he'll go out and get points there, and I'll go out and get them. The difference, I think, and it's interesting what you say about expectation, in terms of staying up. I don't think people will write them off because they know how hard to play. Again, sorry, that is. But I think interesting point you make against Carlisle. I genuinely don't see, and I really like Michael Williams. I think he's a fantastic football manager. I don't see how Carlisle get out of this because I watched bits of them on Saturday and I thought they were better. Don't get me wrong, I thought they were much better than they had been. But it's going to take about a gel and time needed because we've signed 10 players and all that jazz. But I have no idea how they get out of that. I think they're absolutely humped.
Carlisle have a. So I'm just going to say just on the game, and obviously because Ronan, you saw bits as well. For me on Saturday, Carlisle had a midfield.
Yeah, I thought
Callum was it first name.
Yes, yeah.
I thought it was brilliant.
I thought it was really, really good. And I watched quite a bit of Carlisle this season because of bitter and rivalry and all that. And they looked terrible in midfield, but I thought he really looked decent. They kept the ball a lot. Didn't do a lot with it, like you said, but I thought they looked decent. But I don't need to say it again. Morecambe stay up every day of the week.
Well, I think with Carlisle, they're pretty much the opposite to what Morecambe are doing because Morecambe obviously are about continuity, keeping a small squad together and working for each other. Carlisle's squad is massive, and every time they lose, there's that temptation to chop and change every single week, which doesn't do good for the team at all. There's going to be players that are not playing that think, well, you're losing every week. Why am I going to, not getting a game? That's not good for the training ground. That's not good for the dressing room. There's players left out who feel like they should be playing and should be doing better than other players. There's players that could be doing better, but not get given a proper chance or a proper run because there's no continuity there. They're trying to play their way football out of games rather than fight their way out of games, which you need your 0-0s, you need your 1-0s, and trying to pop it around like your prime MK it's not going to really work. So for me, they're doing it all wrong, and it could cost them. At some point, the new players will gel and they will rally, and I think they will win a few games on the spin, but it might be too late when they do. So I tend to agree. I think there's big problems there at Carlisle. I don't think it's going to be as easy as they'll win 5 on the spin and pull clear. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they could be dead and
Very
buried.
by the time it gets around to them, and it'd be a real shame. I'd really hate to see it.
Bailey has returned for the 7th time tonight. Bailey's back. Although I must admit that it seems to be better already, but let's not tempt fate. I just want to go back before a couple of more points that have been brought up. Just on the Newport thing. This line here where it said we have a manager who doesn't change tactics at all. You saw it at Wimbledon. We were brilliant first half. They figured out how to counter, and then we sat and lost the game quietly. That's Mike Williamson at Carlisle. That's what he does. That's what he did at MK. And I said it last season. We put 4 past MK at home last season, and it was quite simply because he set up one way. We sat back, we figured it out, and then we went at that style that he was playing. He doesn't have a backup, and maybe that's the same with Newport. He doesn't have a second tactic. His substitutes were like for like. So he took Dan Kemp off and brought Jack Payne on, or the other way around. And it's like those are 2 very similar players. Like, you're not changing your style there. You are just simply taking, a fully working wheel off your car and putting another fully working wheel. Like, that's not the change. The change is that you need a different car at that point. You need to try something different. And that he doesn't do that. So it sounds like Newport have got that same problem, and it's frustrating, I think, as a fan to see, because you don't want to be sort of that one-dimensional team, but they kind of are, and it's got to change. Bailey, for you, you're back. I'm yawning as well. Charles here. Monsieur Challenor, he says, I still think there's more to come from Doncaster. I believe we still haven't shown the best version of ourselves, but it's a case of, will we repeat last season's ending few months of form? I don't think you repeat last month's ending. I think that would be ridiculous again. But Chalwick said last season that you wouldn't do it, and you did. So, Bailey, what do you think?
No, I think to say we're going to go and win 10 games in a row is like, you're just dreaming, aren't you? But like, I think it's possible. It's very possible we could go and win, 3, 4, 5, and put ourselves right back in. I won't say mix with Walsall, but you never know. They go on a bad run maybe, or lose a couple of games, and we just, just get closer to them and put a bit of pressure on towards the end. But I think to say we're going to win 10 in a row, I don't think we get anywhere near that. And I think you Ronan, earlier, who mentioned about Fleetwood. It could be. I think if there is a team at the minute who look like they could do that, it is probably Fleetwood. But I think that to go on a run like that is mad.
Do you know who we've got last game at season? Fleetwood at home.
Do you know you've got second?
Because you never beat Pete Wild.
No, we do because we beat you. We ruined your season last year, Ronan.
Don't beat Pete Wild
at Valley Parade, yeah.
Valley Parade, got it.
Do you know what we did? Do you know what we did? Just a kick in the teeth. We ended their season last year, and then we've sent the lad that did it on loan to Barrow. and then Tyler Smith, and this is I think this is brilliant. Tyler Smith in his interview when he joined Barrow said, "I'm really happy to be here. I had the best time of my career here." And everyone's like, yeah, when he played for us before. And I'm like, no, he's talking about last season, that last minute goal that he scored against you. He's talking about that. That's his best time of his career. But yeah, I mean, look, Tyler Smith is coming for you, Ronan. Like, he's been frozen out at Bradford. Tyler Smith's playing for a contract right now. Do you think that he had a great season? What league were you in when he played for you before? Were you in League 2 or was it just before?
It was
the first year of Ian Evatt.
Do you think that Tyler Smith is somebody who you could see being there beyond this 6 months?
I thought it would be Andy Dallas,
but I was wrong. I like Tyler Smith because obviously my Tyler Smith memories are of how good he was at Barrow. And his first loan spell was with us, and he was fantastic. He was absolutely dynamite. But I don't know really, because he came on Saturday and he looked all right. I thought he had a good chance of a header, which was difficult. No chance, it's one of them chances where you don't think he's going to score, but he does well to get it to where he is. If we could just put some, I think he needs some confidence and some fight back in him, and I don't think it's for a lack of trying. And
he's one of them strikers. I know he scored 6 goals in that Pidley Cup last season, but he still scores goals at some level. That he's not completely dried up, which always would put a fear about it to me. And as he scored, I know he hasn't scored for this season or something like that, but I think we could probably get the best out of him. I don't want to make any guesses with Barrow's transfer window this summer because I have no idea what's going to happen. If it's anything like last window, I think we should just give up. But I think the next 12 to 18
months of Barrow is going to be really interesting
going forward, because I think there's a lot of questions
to come out of the club, which I think will sort of come out over the next 6 months or so. When our chairman's going on the radio to set the record straight about everything, apparently, which is always a laugh.
I can guarantee you right now he ain't setting everything straight. He's setting his version of things that he's very, very carefully articulated into a little statement. But there's absolutely no danger, and I think we all know there's no danger that your chairman is going to go in there and set the record straight.
And you both go,
I will not pass comment and I will nod my head politely.
I think it could be a really interesting months, 12 months of the soccer, 18 months, because there's a lot to go with, and I think Andy Wing's going to hopefully take us in the right direction, but it depends if everybody's going to drag him in the same direction as him, and I mean every single person to do it. Can't connect just about football.
Andy Wing.
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 I'm just going to come to Bradford. Okay, so Lancaster Bantam has asked, he says, do you think we're done with our business this window? I know people mention a second keeper, but for me, that's a summer job. I think forwards, I believe. And I think forwards, I believe, till summer when we have 3 on the books. I think what you're saying is we'll leave the forward situation until the summer. Rumors, how do you say it? I hate shit like this. That's why I don't like talking about Bradford, right? Rumors are that we are in talks with in fact, I've already spoken about it on this, haven't I? I mentioned about Manny because they got Ben to say it. Yeah, so Bradford are apparently in talks with Manny Disarue, or as Ben said it, Manny, do you want a chocolate thing? Whatever you say.
Ferrero Rocher. We'll call him Manny Ferrero Rocher, shall we?
Manny Ferrero Rocher. We're apparently in talks with him from Hartlepool, and the club are actively pushing for one player at least to leave on loan, a midfielder. That's all I'm gonna really get into on that part. But there's been contacts between clubs about a loan. Ronan, that what you just said there, is that something that's public knowledge?
No.
Okay, well, let's not pretend that we said that's not right. Okay, so anyway, that's fucking Jesus Christ, mate. I think we need a code or something that we talk about in the private chat about what we can say, because honestly, if I got on a little rant there, I might have just read that out without even thinking what it said. So for me, I don't think Bradford are done. I think that we need a striker this window. We needed a striker before Cook got injured. We've signed Michael Mellon. We still need a striker because we've lost Andy Cook. We need a second striker. We need someone to replace him. We need the goals. We need Andy Cook to be replaced. Michael Mellon doesn't replace Andy Cook. Michael Mellon isn't an Andy Cook. He's said himself he's not coming in to replace Andy Cook. He's coming in to be an addition to Andy Cook. So we still need an Andy Cook, and Manny D at Hartlepool is a very, very good. We'll see what we've got. So that's my view on it. Where do you three? I've said, Bailey, you said you think you guys are done apart from maybe some outgoings, didn't you?
Yeah, I think obviously we brought the three players in on loan, which takes us to 5. So I think that's us done. I think there'll be a couple of outgoings, probably Westbrook, and it looks like Kyle Hurst maybe as well, unfortunately. And then maybe a couple of the youngsters or more younger lads on loan as well. But yeah, I can't see us bringing any more into the club.
Wow. Just on. Am I reading this right? Sorry. This isn't, by the way. I'm not what you're saying, brother. So we were talking about Jatta and Plymouth apparently putting in a bid for him. Plymouth are currently 5-0 down at halftime.
Yeah, I've just seen that.
I genuinely saw the tweet from Plymouth saying halftime 5-0, and I thought it was a youth game. I thought it was one of those silly youth games where you see a team win 15-0. They're playing Burnley. They're 5-0 down. It's just kicked off the second half. They've made 3 subs. So, yeah, that's Christ almighty.
Burnley don't score that many goals either. They're very good at 1-0s, Burnley. So it's they must be really bad.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Not great. So yeah, look, Bailey, you think you're done. Ben, what do you think you've got left to do this window?
Well, apparently, Holloway said today that one's done, or they're expecting him today, and he's fully expect to get it completed, which probably would be done now in time for Newport. So it'll probably be announced tomorrow. That's going to be an attacking player. We still need a new keeper, which needs to be done. And Kirkman got injured against Barrow. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. We were going to pick up an attacking midfielder, but that's not going to happen now. And we're going to probably look for a left wing back. So there might be a little bit of business still to go, really. He says he doesn't see anyone leaving. I think someone's going to go, but I don't know who. I've heard rumours of one player, but again, that's not public knowledge, so I won't say out. We'll have to wait and see, really. But yeah, there's going to be a little bit of stuff. Swindon always do their business late in January anyway, so no doubt it'll be a deadline day and there'll be 1 or 2 announcements from Swindon, but we'll see what happens. But I think certainly one's being announced tomorrow, which is either a wide attacker or a striker.
Fair play. Do you think you'd lose? So Bradford fans did a space last night and they were talking about Harry Smith.
Yeah, I know they've all got their eye on Harry Smith. I don't think he. Right, I know a lot of fans will say, well, depends what the club actually lie to all the time. But the word out from the club when it comes to outgoings is Ian Holloway has got final say on everything this window. And Ian Holloway has categorically said, I will not lose McGregor. I will not lose Harry Smith. He actually said the word Man United could come in for Harry Smith. He is not going anywhere. So take that as you will. Everyone's got a price. So if they do come in stupid, Harry Smith is basically a Southern-based player. If he does ever leave Swindon, he'll go somewhere like Gillingham. All this clubs have been around in and around.
Money, then. We don't. Yeah, it wouldn't be us.
Yeah, no, I think Swindon are not. Clem puts money into the club. They're not a club like they're hemorrhaging money and they need to sell players to survive. They're not that sort of position. Swindon's problem with Clem is his half-assed way of running the club, his shady dealings, the way his companies are run, the people behind the scenes, and the complete lack of care and taking the fans completely for granted. But apparently over the tenure he's been at Swindon, he's put too much money in because it's about 8 million quid's worth. Apparently, obviously I don't know that for sure, but that's what's coming out from the media, that he puts about 2 million quid in every year to the club, which again is quite worrying because he's going to want that back. So I don't think anyone's going this January. That is going to be major to the club, but it's still got 10, 12 days of the window to go. Who knows what happens? Someone might come in with a sizable offer for a player, but I'm quite relaxed at the moment.
Ronan, what about you? How far off do you think you are where you want to be this season?
I was just looking at it before. We've used up all our loan spots, although I think there's one that might go back in Chris Popov. It's hard now because obviously Andy Wing's come in. You don't really know, and I know we've got a sort of a model where the director of football sort of leads the way. I'll use that in the loosest of terms because I don't know how massively involved it is now as it was. But I still think we've got 1 or 2 to come in. I think Andy Wing will want at least one player who's his and want to come in and do that sort of business. So it wouldn't shock me to see one go back and one come in. Both our goalies are injured at the moment.
Farm's injured.
He's playing with an injury at the moment, apparently. And he has been for a while, which is and a few fans are sort of starting to get in his back a bit, but I think you've got to see the bigger picture of the lad is literally pulling himself out on probably all sorts of painkilling injections to play a game of football. So it wouldn't shock me to maybe see a goalkeeper come in as maybe's back up, depending on how bad Stanway's knock is. But I think we'll bring one in, and I think it's got to be a midfielder because we lack bite in midfield, and I think judging on Andy Wing's playing career and all I know is he has had players with bite, and he is a player with bite. So I think he'll take one look at our midfield and go for him with a dose of salt.
Fair play. Well, guys, we've gone a little bit all over, but I love that. We've covered a little bit. Has anyone got anything that they want to specifically bring? Bailey, I don't know if you want to talk about the little statement that Doncaster gave out about referees. You've obviously put down there that you always get shit refs, but there was a hell of a lot of stuff. So for anyone who doesn't know, it's a statement just condemning the actions. And it was some fans throwing coins at the referee and things like that. Is that kind of where it's at?
Yeah, I don't actually know what's happened 100% because I sit behind goal, and obviously that's happened where refs are going under the tunnel after the game, and I heard straight after that there were a lot of shouting and abuse being thrown at them. I didn't know about coins or anything like that being thrown at them, which is obviously massively out of order. But yeah, it's difficult because, like, you three will agree, like the standard of refereeing on the whole in this league and even League One and above it's shocking. Like we played Hull a couple of weeks ago and we had Sonny Gill as the
Sonny
ref.
Gill, yeah. So Jan Hill, does anyone, just on a point, does anyone remember his dad? I mean, you guys probably won't remember his dad.
I don't remember his dad, but I
didn't watch him, obviously.
Yeah. Ben, do you remember his dad? Jarnail Singh, the referee, he wore the
Oh, I remember. It's like, years ago.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I'm weirdly friends with him on Facebook. So, yeah, Jarnail Singh. Sonny Gill. Look, he refereed us against against Crewe a couple of years ago. It wasn't great. So was he not good in that game against Hull?
No, that's it. We played Hull, and he's like he's a constant ref in Championship, and he's had a few Prem games as well. So, and he was poor for both teams, possibly more in our favour as well. And I remember you were at the Crewe first leg of the playoffs as well.
He didn't send your keeper off though, did he? When it was an open net against Hull.
No, he didn't.
So where's the fan outrage about that?
No, that's not it. But to be fair, I didn't think that was a red because I didn't think he was going to get ball. But yeah, I thought it was shocking, probably more in favour of us. And I remember the Crewe first leg game last season when we had in Hill Pro then and we won 2-0. Like I said to you,
he was no one that. And
no one ever mentions it when it's going your way. It's always when you lose.
There were a couple of moments in that game, and don't get me wrong, Crewe deserved to lose that game. And again, this is where we talk about ruthlessness. Like Crewe were there for the spanking of a 3-4-5-0 that game. You guys were that dominant, but yes, he made some decisions where you were like, "Hang on, no!" Like, yeah, and I think you guys scored a goal off the back of one of them where it was quite. But yeah, you guys could have done a Crawley in the playoffs, really. Because if you go into that second leg with a 3-4-5-0 lead, then they're not coming back. But they came in with a sniff, and they kind of knew, didn't they? They were like, "Look, we've conceded 2 at home, we can score 2 away," and then pushed on from there. So, yeah, he didn't have a great game. It's a shame because he's actually like quite a nice guy. I saw him at a VAR PGMOL event last year. And by the way, for anyone who's watching who hasn't done them, they tour around the country, do PGMOL, and they give like talks on refereeing and the standards and things like that. Anybody who's got criticisms of referees, please go to one and find out a little bit more about it, because there's a live VAR sim there. So you're sat with all the screens with the headset on and you're watching the camera angles of the incidents and you have to call it correctly. And I got every single one of them wrong. Like, it's because I thought I knew, and then they give you the explanation as to why, which again they don't do on TV, and that's missing from it. That's a little bit that's missing. They kind of don't go into enough depth about why at the time, because as soon as I got told why, I was like, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. Don't get me wrong, I ended up arguing with a former Champions League linesman who quite clearly had more experience than me, but I told him he was wrong. So you're wrong.
Not like you.
I'm not wrong. I was like, this is bullshit. Is it what, mate? And just like that,
it's just gone.
Bailey, are you there? He's moving again. Bailey, what did you say?
No, I said fans know everything. So
yeah, we do.
Never argue with a fan.
Well, apparently I found out about the pass-back rule on the weekend because a Barrow player kneed the ball back to the goalkeeper who picked it up, and I was screaming my head off. And I was like, "Oh, it's the knee. You're allowed to knee it back." I thought it was anything with the leg. I thought you're allowed to head it, chest it back with the leg. No, there was a pass-back, and it was blatant as well. He just kneed it back to the keeper, and the whole ground erupted. And the referee just waved it away. What the And then he was pointing to Swindon players, and the Swindon players surrounding him was just going, point to his knee. He said, let's need it, mate. And then as Ronan in the little chat goes, people don't know the pass back rule, do they? I didn't know that. And apparently it has to be with the foot. Knee is fine.
I didn't
know that either. I was screaming my head off.
Because we've done it, and I want to say it was Canavan who did it, and I might be wrong. We did it about 4 times last season, the exact same thing, and every ground in England went mental at it. In the league, not in England, Christ. And it's the rule. I don't think I learned it like well into watching football, but yeah, it's just a bit of a nuance of football, I suppose.
You can knee it back to the keeper, but you can't kick it.
Holy shit! So yeah, the UK rules here says your players can use a chest pass, a knee, or a header of the ball back to the goalkeeper if the objective is to stop an attacking move by the opposition. As a rule, this move would not be a deliberate back pass violation. That's insane. I'm 36 years old and I've just learned that.
I thought before and I didn't know that.
I genuinely my head off. I thought a chest or a head, that's different. But I genuinely thought, same as you, anything with your leg, and the things that's got to be, especially at this level, and if it was at a fast pace, that's got to be difficult to call without the likes of a VAR. And there's not much margin for error between. I mean, you've got your knee. If it comes off the shin, that would, I'm guessing, count as a pass back. Like,
my understanding of the rule is anything below your knee would be a pass back.
Yeah, which again is so difficult to. I think with it coming at pace will be so hard, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So credit to the referees in that one.
Yeah. We've got to give. And I've said this for so long. I've said it on all the 606s. I'm more than happy to kind of call referees out when shit goes wrong, but call them out when shit goes right as well. And like Bailey says, like, no one complained when those decisions go in your favour, and we don't. Like, if you have a poor referee, and both Hull and Donny fans, I remember after the game, were both saying that was a poor refereeing performance. Both fans were saying it. That's what needs to happen. That's what will force change. Your change will be forced by both sets of fans of a game saying that was horrific. It won't be changed if the team that's lost is kicking off and the team that's won doesn't care. Football.
It kind of summed it up against Hull. Just to go back to it, there were two instances. The exact same thing happened where they were like a 50-50, and the ref waved advantage, and then 2 seconds later gave a free kick the other way. He did it twice, but one for each team, and like all Donny fans moaning when it went Hull when they gave free kick to Hull, but no one said anything when it went the other way.
Yeah.
Just summed up. Fans are very fickle, aren't they? But
we are. It's just the way we go in it. As fans, we always want every decision against every decision in our favour, and if we don't get them, then there's a conspiracy. And let's just be brutally honest on this. Refereeing's poor. There is not a referee out there that's going out there to intentionally screw your team over. Like, there'll be some that have players. I do think that they kind of give stuff against them because the players will be giving them shit, but I don't think a referee wakes up on a match day and goes, I'm gonna fuck Barrow over, I'm gonna fuck Donny today. Like, I just don't think that there's a conspiracy to go after. And being completely honest, I don't think that any clubs in this league are important enough to be a part of a conspiracy with the PGMOL. Ronan looks like he completely disagrees.
I'm convinced, that it is a little bit funny. Paul Simpson, ex-Carlisle manager's son, is a linesman in this league, and we give Paul Simpson and his son that much shit over the last 2 years that if I was Paul Simpson's son, I would do everything to go out my way to make sure every decision Barrow had went against us because of the amount of abuse they both received. And if he does, fair play. I rate it massively. He was in front of us at Doncaster. We called him dogs abuse all game.
Was it Carlisle rock bottom? Carlisle rock bottom.
Yeah, but I'm convinced he hates Barrow, as he should be.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? We've covered a lot, but I think we've gone into some depth on quite a lot of stuff here, which is good.
Half the league, I think.
Yeah, I think we really have. We've got some teams that next week we'll bring on. We'll chat about them. So before we go, then. Who have we got this weekend, Ben? Who have you got this Saturday?
Oh, Newport away. Got a massive, another massive one. Of the next 5 games, 4 against teams that are below us, and there's not that many teams below us. So we're in a huge period. The rest of this January, early February is telling. So another big one.
Newport and Tranmere, isn't it? Carlisle, Newport, Tranmere.
Current and Harrogate as well after Port Vale.
Ronan, what about you?
We've got Grimsby at home, which is a bit of a weird one, really, because I don't really know what to expect. They haven't won in the last 3, so mind you, we've only won 3 games in September. So, but it's a massive new start for everyone. I think we might win on Saturday. I'm going positive this week.
I think you win. I've wound some Grimsby fans up this week, so I think you'll win.
Grimsby are quite high up on the away league table. They're not as high up as they were the other week. They were second in the table on the away form for the season. You guys are pretty much mid-table on home form. I'm going to call a draw outright there. I think, but do you know what? Given how things have been going for you, like every point counts at this stage before you get dragged into it, doesn't it? So
could be anything. Could be anything on Saturday.
Yeah, it could. Bailey, what about you? Who are you playing?
We've got a side that we've never beaten in league before, and everyone's bogey team, Harrogate, at home, and then we've got a lovely trip to Barrow next Wednesday.
Do you know the Harrogate game isn't showing on your fixtures for me here on Flash Scores? It says you're playing Barrow. Let me just
Barrow.
Yeah, you have got Harrogate. Is the Harrogate game a rearranged one?
No, it's Saturday 3:00.
Yeah, it's not showing. It's not there. Me,
you've got to be out at Harrogate. They do well in like Yorkshire derbies, don't they?
Harrogate aren't a team that Donny like to play. They're really not.
Or Bradford, they do really well at the They do really well. They were just playing Yorkshire teams. If Leeds were in your league, they'll be right up there.
But Leeds only beat them 1-0 last week in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
To be fair, they're doing that well in Yorkshire derbies. They've made every game a derby, haven't they now?
I was going to bring that up.
Brilliant.
And that is a dig at like that. That's been done for me on purpose because like when they play Bradford, and look, regardless what people think, it's a local derby. Are we in contention in terms of like size of clubs and things like that? No, but we're both competing in the same league. It's a derby. Bradford fans are always going, it's not a derby, it's not a derby. So now Harrogate are calling everything a derby, and to call Colchester a derby, I think is just absolutely incredible. Like
it's one of the players, isn't it? It's one of the players. I saw it before.
Yeah, Eastman, isn't it? Is it Tom Eastman?
Yeah. So I love it. I think it's fucking brilliant. Me calling, if I'm them, I'd every single week. I'd just be like derby game, derby day, and just because it gets under people's skin. And that's what football's fucking all about at this level. To cheer you all up, to cheer you up, Ben, to cheer you up, Ronan, and to give you some nice thoughts here, Bailey. We've got fucking Walsall on Saturday. So, one thing I'll say is top of the league. Absolutely flying. Oh, do you know why? Do you know why you weren't showing us playing thingy? By the way, it's because I was on home games. Away games. So it was showing you next away game. We've got Walsall sat top of the league, flying, smashing teams left, right, and centre, coming to the biggest ground in the league, playing in front of the biggest crowd in the league. They've sold 700 tickets. It's a bit, and I saw a Walsall fan say, I'd rather that. I'd rather us have a loyal fan base rather than us gaining fans just because we're in form. It's like, okay, well, last season you brought 400. So regardless what you think, you've sold 300 more already. You probably sold another 100 or so today. So you've doubled your fans this season to last. That's still the same thing.
You dine out on seasons like this as well. You go to every game. It's like when the Paolo, we just pack the away games because these are rare. Because when you're a low league club, there's so many shit seasons. You've got to sit through so much dire rubbish. When you get a golden year, you enjoy it, take it all in because they don't last. And it might be 10 years to get another one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, thank you very much for this. It's been fun. I'm going to start the fun games from next week's one, which is just going to have a couple of little, maybe a little quizzy bit in it, which just is, don't worry. But I've got some little things that I'm going to do that are just a little bit different. I've also got the reverse thing, which I'm planning, and that is strictly for Ben. I'm gonna get the Uno cards out, and basically when Ben goes on an impassioned rant about some at Swindon, I'm gonna hold the reverse card up, and he has to immediately change his mind and defend.
See, I've been deliberately reserved today. I've not said anything too controversial. I've been quite good.
I'm waiting for Ben to tell us when they make a signing and he sees him play that first time, and he comes on and he goes, "Guys, we have got the next best thing," because that is a Ben thing to do. And then I'm gonna go, whoop, hold this card off his go, and he'll go, "He is shit. He is absolutely shy."
We'll beat Newport and Tranmere, and I'll be on a playoff charge then. So don't worry, you can do it then.
Yeah, surprise me if you started looking at the points and how you can do it. Guys, thank you very much. It's been really, really fun. If you're listening on Spotify or whatever, please follow us and do whatever you need to do. Give us a 5 stars, but call us whatever you like in the comments. That don't really matter. We will see you when we see you, because we don't stick to a structure around here. We just do things when we feel like it, and that's the way we do it. Bye, guys.